Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I got another interview for you here today. He just made his return back to Impact Wrestling at Slammiversary. He is a former X Division champion, former World Tag Team champion, former World Impact Heavyweight champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Young. Eric, nice to have you on the podcast again.
Yeah, good to be back. You left out Legends champ and also women's tag team champion. Me and ODB never lost those, by the way. We never got beat.
Oh my God, that's definitely true. But hey, if I was here listing all of your accomplishments, it probably would take up the entire podcast. But it's nice to see you. First and foremost, I want to ask you, hey, how do you feel being back at Impact Wrestling?
Yeah, I mean it's a great feeling. It's a beautiful thing. I'm a believer in fate. I have it tattooed on the inside of my right arm. It's the one thing in the world that I truly believe in, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is what the universe wants, and what the universe wants, the universe typically gets.
That is true. I do believe in that as well. It's almost like whatever your destiny is. I know some people like to argue about destiny because if
Sure.
not, then it doesn't matter what decisions you make. But I still believe in that a whole lot. So, Eric, and talking about being back at Impact Wrestling, how did you feel? Walking back in those doors and just, you were only gone for a couple of months. So to be back and step into those doors, what did it feel like?
Yeah, it's going back to the fate thing. It's Windsor, Ontario, Canada. One of the highest. I guess what was it? I can't remember what the number was, but it was one of the biggest crowds Impact's had in the last 5 or 6 years. Windsor is about 20 minutes from where I grew up. BCW and Scott D'Amore's Border City Championship Wrestling, which is out of Windsor, Ontario, was a place that I cut my teeth when I first started in like 97, 98. I'm very old. Um, but yeah, it was surreal, and I told Scott if it was somewhere else, if we were in New York or Atlanta, I don't think I would have done the Team Canada. It wouldn't have seemed right. But there, kind of the nod to the past. I'm not a person that looks backward. I look forward. I've always been that way. But a cool nod to history, having A1 there, having friends and family in the crowd, standing beside Scott, a person that has been a very close friend to me for over 30 years and a guy that I trust explicitly. And I think he would say the same about me. And walking down that aisle and that kind of reaction. And as you probably know when you follow, I'm not very good on social media. I do what I can, but not very good about it. But some people that are good with it said that in the wrestling space, I was trending third worldwide that night. So people didn't forget, and that's it's a good feeling. It's a good thing for my soul, and a good thing just for me personally. And I'm exactly where I was supposed to be.
That's so freaking awesome. And it was very exciting, to see you. And like we mentioned, like, here's the thing, like Slammiversary had so many surprises. Obviously, you being one of them. We had the return of Josh Alexander, and then there were all these title changes. There was just a lot of news coming out of that show. Being back at Impact Wrestling now, how do you feel about the state of the promotion? How do you feel about the direction it's heading in?
Yeah, it's a very special place, and I've said this before, and it is always going to come as off as bias because people ask me about it when I work there. That's how it works. Um, but it's minute for minute, I think the best professional wrestling show on television, and production wise, and all the shiny bells and whistles, and we don't have a lot of that. We can't compete that way, but how we do compete is in storytelling and characters and in physical matches and good matches and matches that people are going to talk about in 10, 20, 30 years. And it's written for pro wrestling fans. Like that's our audience. The people watching Impact Wrestling are wrestling fans. They're not fans of Seinfeld, or I'm dating myself with that reference, but
I love
they're not.
Seinfeld, man. I
Yeah,
love
they're not
Seinfeld.
fans of Survivor and they stumble upon it. These people have to actively seek it out because of the scale of it. Some people don't have access as part of their package. I mean, if you're a wrestling fan and you're not paying them whatever it is, $1 or $1.99 on YouTube to get it, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's certainly worth more than that. But yeah, I mean, just minute to minute, I think it's the strongest pro wrestling show written for pro wrestling fans by professional wrestlers and professional wrestling fans.
That's awesome. There's a lot that I want to touch on here. And I want to start off with, you kind of mentioned a little bit about how you really have to be a wrestling fan to watch Impact Wrestling. And, I would assume that a lot of the audience just like knows the history of it all because it's like, it comes with it, right? It comes with being a fan of Impact Wrestling. With that being said, having been in the business and seen so much and being part of Impact Wrestling for so long, Eric, what do you want to see the company do next? What do you want to see? What direction would you like to see Impact Wrestling go next to continue, just succeeding in the space, especially given how competitive it is?
I mean, first and foremost for me is I want people to watch it to feel like they've been rewarded. That's the core of business, the core of entertainment is the people that are paying money and more importantly, spending their time, which is invaluable, watching and consuming this thing is they feel like they're getting something. The reality is you can't make everyone happy. It's art. It is just not possible in any form of media, in any medium in the world. Someone is not going to like certain things. Someone's going to love certain things. And that's just the thing. But I think the advantage of pro wrestling is that it is kind of the ultimate variety show, right? Like you could be a person that just loves good wrestling and good matches, and you're not concerned with talking, you're not concerned with characters. You just, in a perfect world, it's two guys with black trunks and black boots and they just grapple for 45 minutes. I can tell you there's lots of people that would not watch it if that's what it was. But the truth is Impact Wrestling and pro wrestling in general is there is a flavor for everyone. And you could watch one of our shows on Thursday, on XS TV, and there is something for you on that show. And I think there's something for every pro wrestling fan, and consistently doing new things and different things and creative things. That to me is the drug, right? That's the physical part of performing is part of the drug, but the creative side and the storytelling side, that's what drew me to wrestling. And that's what I'm addicted to doing most in wrestling. And kind of, cooking up what I have coming next has been a lot of sleepless nights by choice. I'm not very good at sleep and I don't enjoy it. So it's a lot of sitting and thinking and wondering how we present the next phase of my career. And they're doing that with a bunch of really talented, hungry people. And it's, but for me, I think the biggest thing is rewarding the people that watch it. And in turn, word of mouth and positive reviews on social media and positive reviews of the show will grow it. Bigger crowds, more eyes, more viewership, better sponsorships, more bigger buildings. That's the goal. And if that's not the goal, then this isn't the business for you.
You mentioned sleepless nights and thinking of the next thing that you're going to do in your career. Can you give us a little bit of a tease or anything that might hint at what we're going to be seeing from Eric Young in the upcoming weeks and months, etc.?
Yeah, well, I guess it was, around 9 months ago, I was killed on the show, which is amazing. But was I killed? The truth is it was open for interpretation. And the interpretation for probably 90% of the people is that I was killed. But you don't see it. There isn't a funeral. You don't see my body. So it really is masterclass storytelling. And the truth is that leaves it very wide open for interpretation. And when it's left open for interpretation, there is no direction that we can't go. And I think me showing up at Team Canada, it is a very singular thing. And it's one-off. And I've said this in a couple of other reviews I've did is that Team Canada gear, the jacket for gear collectors. I know there's tons of guys out there that collect things and love memorabilia. Well, the jacket, which is an original Stephen Barry's Team Canada jacket, and the new gear and knee pads will be raffled off on Impact's eBay thing. And all the proceeds will go to Joe Doring and his family. He's got a long road ahead of him still. And I know that there's a GoFundMe for him. So if you can donate, and if you're a collector and you want something, I'm never wearing it again. It is only existing for Slammiversary for my return. It will never be worn again. And it's one of a kind, custom made. And if you're a collector, please buy it. Please donate to Joe. That's what we're doing with that stuff.
That is so awesome of you to do, and really nice, a really, really nice thing to do. And I'll make sure to post the GoFundMe link in the description box of
Thank
this
you.
video as well. Eric, I do want to ask you because we just mentioned you being killed off and leaving, being gone from Impact for a couple of months. Did you think that when you left Impact, did you think that you would be coming back? Not too far down the road, only a couple months later.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly not, but the world's got a funny way of working itself. And I mean, you work for Fightful, and Sean did a very good job of covering that. And that's all I can really say about it. I can say that I signed up for one thing and then was presented with a completely different thing. And personally, professionally, and for me, more importantly, morally, I can't take instruction and work for a person like that. And if you would have said that 9 months ago, 6 months ago, I probably would have said, no, I wouldn't be back at Impact. But fate's got a funny way of doing things. And like I said, I didn't really want to leave in the first place, but business is business. And an opportunity had presented itself that I couldn't say no to. And um, I made the move, and I don't regret it at all. 9 months vacation there's worse things that could happen to a person for sure. But yeah, I'm right back where I want to be. And obviously we'll be going down the road of what happened with VBD and the Cody Deaner thing. And I don't know where it will lead now, but I can say that discussion has already started. The creative juices are flowing, and Eric Tompkins and the whole creative team from Impact is, I mean, literally bar none. They're amazing. And I get to be involved with that process. And that's a responsibility and a privilege that is not lost on me. It's a very cool place to be in my life.
And having had this experience in your career where you thought you were going to go one direction, but then you've realized, okay, things happen. You know what? I'm better off in this place. When something like that happens, I can only imagine that as a person, you kind of, learn about yourself during that time. What was, I guess having this experience, how would you go ahead and summarize just the having gone through it and being like, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe this is not what I want, and this is where I'm going to be.
Yeah, really good question. And I would say in a position like that, you're going to learn a ton. And that's what life is, you think you got it wrapped up and you got it figured out. And then you realize that you don't. And we're all just these little dots on this spinning ball in the sky. And people that think that they have it figured out are often the people that don't have it figured out. And life is weird like that. And I can say for me, I was trying to think of the best way to say this is I'm very lucky that I was in a position to make a choice like that. And I know that there's tons of people that won't have that ability and can't make that choice, but I could. And for me, it was undoubtedly, unequivocally, and unabashedly the right choice for me. And it's not going to be the same for everybody, but for me, it's the right choice. And I walked away from a massive opportunity and life-changing money and yada, yada, yada. And I don't regret it. Didn't regret it then. And I certainly don't regret it now. And I know in 10 years, I certainly won't regret it. And I'll know it was the exact right decision. And I'm glad that I had the ability to make it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels to me that, when you make a decision like that, you got to have a really good head on your shoulders, right? Because again, every situation is different for everybody. With that being said, with you returning to Impact Wrestling, I know that, there's a lot of wrestlers that not only are on-screen talent, but they have behind the scenes roles, behind the scenes positions as producers, creative, you name it, right? When you came back to Impact Wrestling, do you have also an additional role behind the scenes now with Impact?
I do not. I like to keep the two things separate. And there are guys that do it, and I don't know how they do it. I'm so consumed with the performing side, and just mentally, I can be honest that I wouldn't be able to do them both. And it is something that interests me for sure. It's something that I think I would be good at. Obviously, I don't interject in people's things and what they want to do. Obviously, I mean, 30 years of experience. I've been on TV for over 20 years. There's probably not a question that you have that I can't answer, or at least give a pretty educated opinion on. And if people ask, then I tell them. But I don't interject myself in their lives or their creative process or what they're doing. If someone asks my opinion, then I give it to them and I break down why. And I love that. You know, it's something that I've always enjoyed about wrestling, kind of the passing on of knowledge. And I learn from people, and now people are learning from me. And it's kind of the circle of life and how it really works. And the truth is if you don't ask questions and you just think you got to figure it out, you'll never get better. And when I was young, like, I mean, I probably drove guys nuts, you know. But the truth is if you haven't done it, there's no way you can know how to do it. And experience there's no price on it. And I've been doing it at a very high level for a very long time. And if someone wants my help, I'm more than willing to give it. So.
Yeah, that's what I was curious. I was wondering about that because you had mentioned obviously, dealing with your creative, but then I'm like, okay, well, with all of these years of experience, I could only imagine that you would probably also be doing something behind the scenes as well. So Eric, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but I wanted to expand on it a little bit more. And that was, your return to Slammiversary, obviously getting to team up with Scott D'Amore and, obviously your history and everything with Team Canada. But here's the question though, is what was it like teaming with Scott D'Amore? And I'm curious, was that the first time or when was the last time you guys actually teamed up together for an actual physical match?
Man, the last time we teamed, I'm sure we've teamed, but it's so long ago. I'm pretty sure we worked a tag against Dusty Rhodes and somebody. That's 2005. So, I mean, that's a long time ago, right? It's a long, long time ago. As far as the feeling of being with, like, Scott and me are very close and have been for over 25 years. I had 45, 50 people at my wedding, and he was one of them. Just a guy that I trust explicitly, and a person that I respect a great deal, has a really smart mind for wrestling, a really smart mind for the business side of wrestling, and a lot of contractual things and decisions that I've made in the last 20 years were through his guidance. And he's created this really special place. I think, if you've talked to other people from Impact that have been there previously or new to it now, would tell you the same thing. And it's a very special environment, a very special locker room, and a very special place to work. And people that haven't experienced can't understand it until they're there. Like after Saturday, after the thing, there's Ed, who's the president of Access. There's Scott D'Amore, who is the president of Impact. And probably 95% of the roster were all at the same bar celebrating together. That does not go on anywhere else. I can tell you that. That's the absolute truth. I can tell you that with certainty. That does not go on in other places. I've been other places, and I know lots of people that work in other places, and it does not go on. So it's a very tight knit group. I mean, you got your groups and people you hang out with more, but it does very, very much feel like one big team, one big family, and everyone's kind of pulling the rope in the same direction. If Impact does well, we do well, and there's no other way for us to do well unless Impact does well. And you can see it in the product, and you can see it in the camaraderie in the back.
It's like that saying that you hear all the time, iron sharpens iron. So it is really great to hear that. Eric, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come out here and talk with me today. I'm excited to see what you continue to do with Impact Wrestling. Before we go, feel free to plug in anything you'd like to plug.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. I mean, I'm not a mega mogul in the social media world. I do my best. If you send me messages and I don't respond, it's nothing personal. I just have a life and lots of other things that I'm doing outside of wrestling. And I have, I think, around cumulatively 600,000 followers, and it's impossible to see everything. It just is. I mean, it's it's a full-time job already, trying to keep up with it. But yeah, Eric Young on Twitter, if you can still stomach it, and Eric Young IG on Instagram. I haven't got TikTok yet. Fighting the good fight, but I don't know if I'll be able to hold off the demons for much longer.
It's taking all of us. It's taking all of us. But thank you so much, Eric. I'm going to post all of the links to that in the description box below. Thank you to everybody watching. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.